Thank you for joining me in this mini-series of selling in an economic downturn. So what's this all about? So recently, you might have noticed as a seller that it's harder to book first appointments. The sales cycle, it's elongated. It's taking longer than ever to close those deals. There's more people in the decision-making process, and some deals that you've been forecasting in your pipeline, they're slipping altogether. Existing customers, they're hesitant to renew, aren't they? They don't want to upgrade. Those LinkedIn connections that you've been reaching out to sell, they're not responding. They're ghosting you. Why? Maybe they've been laid off. As a seller, you can't remain successful selling in an economic downturn doing the same things that you've always been doing. You need to understand how the economy and sales are linked. It's not impossible to sell successfully in a downturn. You just need to revise your strategy to become a better seller. This series is going to discuss the fundamentals of what that consists of and what can you do right now to change your sales dynamic. So who am I? I'm Becca Hammer. I was in sales for 15 years and I've been in sales enablement for the last 20 years. I'm a survivor of the 1990, 2001, 2008, and 2020 recessions, and I'm here to tell you, you can get through this too. I'm an owner of Hammer Enablement Solutions since 2011, and at the end of the day, I love all things sales. I love selling, I love sellers, I love the process, I love everything about it. So why am I doing this, and what's in it for you if you stay with me? Well, here's the thing. The last major recession was 15 years ago. So unless you're over 40 and you're still selling, you probably don't have a lot of experience in recessionary selling. Too many sellers that I'm running into don't have any support. Economic downturns scare the bejesus out of people and they do stupid stuff like stop spending money. Knowledge is power. And if knowledge is power, then what we can do is give you some information that's going to help you be more successful in your day-to-day sales operation. And at the end of the day, I want you to be successful. I want you to do well. I know that sales is hard anyway in regular times. During an economic downturn, it's even harder. So let's try some new things. Let's do things a little bit differently and see if we can move the needle to be more successful. So in this series, it's a 4-parter and this is what it looks like. So the first one is we're just going to go back to our Econ 101 class, right? We're going to talk about what is an economic contraction, a recession, a downturn, whatever you want to call it. Let's go through and talk about what that means. We're going to talk about what they've looked like historically. What does the government and companies and everybody do in order to alleviate economic downturns? And then what happens in the global economy with economic downturns, because you can't live in a vacuum. In the second series, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how markets respond. This is critical, y'all. So thinking about markets as a whole bunch of different things. The first one is the consumer market. That's you and me, individuals who are making purchases. What are we doing differently when the economy gets tight? What do brands or companies do when economies get tight and people get scared? What do buyers, those are the people you're trying to sell to, what do they do differently? And then winners and losers. And now I know that winners and losers sounds a little crass, but you also have to understand that not everybody struggles in an economic downturn. There are definitely some industries that do just fine, and we're going to talk about those. The third part of this series is going to be changes in the sales process. This is you. We're going to talk about how your prospecting needs to look different. We're going to talk about improved research. And you're like, well, Becca, I already do research. Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about what else you need to do because the economy is not the same as it was. We're going to talk about discovery. Again, you're like, Becca, I do discovery. Okay. But are you asking questions about the economy directly to the customer to engage them in a conversation? We're going to talk about the concept of added value, which again is a phrase from about 15 years ago, but we need to talk about what it looks like because people expect more when times are tough. And then also about escalated support, and we'll dig into each one of those things. And then finally, what we're going to finish with is the idea of performance and ROI. Performance goes well beyond does your product or service work the way you say it's going to. It's performance and what that means to the customer who's buying it. And then, of course, even if you don't sell with ROI now, you're gonna have to in an economic downturn because when purse strings get pulled, everybody wants to know if the money that they're investing is getting them a return that's worth it. And so we'll talk about ways to start that conversation and how you can lead it. Because you asked, I know you will. This series is free. Watch it as many times as you want. The deck will be available to you after you've watched it, so you can take a peek and go back if you want. Yeah, there are going to be some cheat sheets that you'll have access to, so you can go back. You don't have to go through every slide. No, I don't guarantee that your sales are going to improve if you take this little series. But as always with sales, you have to do the work, change things. This is a roadmap that's just going to help you get there a little faster. All right, you excited? You ready to start? All right, well, click here to go to the first session, which is Economic Downturn 101, or come back to the site and you can find it there. I'm looking forward to walking you through this.